What's going on, everybody? I'm Tom.
I'm Pat.
And I'm Zach.
We're best friends, and you're listening to the Reminiscent Podcast. They say you can't choose your family. Well, you also can't choose which era of music you grew up in. This is a weekly show where we discuss our favorite bands from adolescence and how they continue to shape our lives today. Each week, we'll head back to the early 2000s and take a closer look at the cards we were dealt.
Tom, it sounds like you have an apology coming that you'd like to bring to the table here.
Ooh, I forget what it was about already. What
no,
was
you
it?
don't, you son of a
Oh, wait.
Should I read the text?
Oh, yeah, I know. Read the text.
All right. Dear Pat. No, just kidding. You don't send text starting with Dear Pat ever, but now it's going to take me a minute to scroll. But it was concerning a former song of the week.
It was the draft pick.
It was a draft pick. That's right. Man, we text too much probably. Okay. Saturday at 5:45 p.m. Dude, hanging by a moment is such a fucking banger. Holy shit. And I replied in all caps, apologize on the pod, you monster. LOL. Yeah, it's a mood. And you said so good. And I think I got ripped apart for my draft picks. What was that, the 2000 draft? The first one we ever did was that?
Yeah, I think that might have been one of your first pick, actually. And I was stunned. I don't think I disliked the song in real time, but revisiting it fucking rips, dude.
It's a very important tune for an adolescent at that time, for sure. I think you kind of lump Lifehouse in with a lot of those Three Doors Down sounding bands, but it's got some emotions in there. It's an important skating party tune for sure. Or maybe on your drive home from the skating party or something.
Formal apologies, for sure.
Well, hey, I appreciate you saying that, and because I'm always right and never wrong on this show, so I think time will prove that to be true. Never, ever once have I said anything incorrect, or just kidding, obviously. Anyway, this week we have brand new stuff coming your way. Live action radio on the Action Network.
Yeah, so according to our Blink 182 clause, we are legally obligated to discuss any new Blink news.
Subset of the clause, Amendment B. I don't want to keep doing this because they keep doing stuff. We're not going to do a Blink episode, but we do have to mention that they would be forcing our hand if we lived up to those rules.
So they announced a tour with Lil Wayne and Neck Deep, which is the strangest fucking thing I think I've ever seen in my life.
It's got a tint of weirdness, even more so because of the Aoki collab, which we did an episode about a few weeks ago.
Oh, you mean the Absolute Vodka ad? Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, that was just a dance song that they wrote. I mean, it was fun, whatever. And I think this video, they put What's My Age Again mixed up with A Milli. But I think it was more just a promotional YouTube video for the tour because the door shuts at the end with the poster. So I guess I don't mind that much. I think it's just an advertisement. So I don't think they're actually trying to say like, wow, we're really breaking some ground here. Like they just welcomed the guy they're going to be touring with on to sing the verses, and he sang. I don't know. I wasn't too offended or like distraught by any of it. I will be interested to see how the tour goes overall, who attends, or who's going to. I guess Blink would technically be the headliner, but it's a heavy-hitting lineup. It's just a pretty wide-ranging genre. A lot of ground covered, that's for sure.
So it does put me at ease to know that, like, they're probably not starting a supergroup with Lil Wayne, right? But I really wish I could forget what I heard, though. It was a fucking crime.
I think you were. It's weird. It was definitely. I was texting a few friends about this. One of them listens to the show, but it's a late career Weezer move if I've ever seen one to go on this tour for sure. Just kind of like, man, we've been doing this for 2 decades, more than 2 decades. You want to do? Let's just do anything other than what we've been doing. So they are definitely crossing off. I mean, Weezer even did a collaboration with Lil Wayne back on their, was it Ratitude, maybe? But Yeah, Lil Wayne, he must love the bands we love. Maybe we're not giving him enough credit. Who knows? But
That's a possibility, man. I think the most offensive part of that whole thing was that I just noticed it like right before we hit record. I was listening again. And if you listen really closely in the last chorus, in the first chorus, on the word TV shows, I swear to fucking God, you can hear a backtrack harmony and it's Tom DeLonge's voice.
So whoever was editing it together just apparently didn't give a It sounds like Mark singing it doesn't give a It sounds like Lil Wayne doesn't give a either. At the end, I think Matt Skiba delivers whatever line he was fed. It seems like, man, that song was so good.
Right.
Good thing we did that. And now we can go on tour. Oh, who hung the poster on the door that closed? Wow, it's almost perfect.
I mean, I do have to say it was a pretty good promotional.
Yeah, we're talking about it.
Video. Everyone's talking.
It's weird as hell.
It.
Yeah.
Right.
Chance the Rapper tweeted "Thank you" like prayer hands. I'm like, I don't like it, but I like Chance, and now I'm confused. But this was fundamentally bad, right? Like this actual mashup. Like I don't mind them going on tour. You know, it is what it is. But I'm just confused from like a ticket sales standpoint. I think it's.
Right.
Maybe there's more crossover than I think because Travis Barker does a lot of interesting, really cool work in the hip hop world. So I think there was some Twitter give and take between him. You know, so maybe that's where the tie comes in. But yeah, maybe it'll totally work. I'm sure there's going to be a fantastic point in the show where Travis plays drums for one of Lil Wayne's songs, and I'm sure it'll be absolutely great. But yeah, I'm curious to see how much crossover there is. Maybe Blink's got more appeal, and maybe Lil Wayne doesn't too, than we're giving him credit for. But was the promotional video song mashup a total train wreck? Yes, I think undoubtedly yes.
And I will say I will not be attending the show. I don't think I would see Blink 182 without Tom under any circumstance.
You know, I enjoyed the show, but it took me 3/4 of the show seeing them with Skiba for the first time to realize that it was just a different band altogether. So, but once I saw that, it was just like, okay, you know, if they played songs mostly from that record and stopped singing such Tom heavy songs, I think they were even trying to figure that out. You know what I mean?
Right.
As an act. So they play it as the new band. I'll see them. I don't mind. So today we're talking about, last week we did Bring Me to Life by Evanescence, which was fun as hell. I learned a lot about ourselves in the process. And this week we're going to go in a different direction. Lay it on me, Tom. Where are we at?
So this is one of, I think, like objectively one of the best songs in the genre of this entire decade. Came out in late 2003, album in 2004. The song is Ocean Avenue off of the similarly named album by Yellowcard.
Yes, quite similar. Almost exactly the same. Some might argue.
Exact same. Just scrounging for words, dude.
That's right. No, I get caught in my own shit all the time. I feel guilty even calling you on it because this whole show is me just tripping over my own mouth garbling garbage. As I'm doing it now as I'm explaining what the phenomenon is. Famamamam. But yeah, so I would tend to agree. One question I wanted to ask you was, could Simple Plan have had this exact same career if they just happened to have a string instrument in their band?
Wow. I think that's giving a ton. Okay, well, I'm going to choose my words carefully. Simple Plan rips.
Yes.
But I think they, with or without any type of stringed instrument, I don't think they could have possibly ripped as hard.
Well, I guess guitars have
Yellowcard
strings, but you know what I mean.
Career.
Violin, things like that. Or fiddle, or whatever the it is.
Sure. Right.
I think it's a violin. Can we have our intern look that up?
Yeah. I think people use the word fiddle to tell about like a way of playing the violin, but it's not like a different instrument.
Well,
but we'll have the intern.
Yeah, we'll fact check for sure. We're moving up in the world. We have employees that aren't real, but we're going to reference them as if we do. So, and I think this is a good thing to mention about the show's history. Is I wanted to do a concept episode where we reviewed and looked back at Ocean Avenue, the album overall, and I was just going to talk as if we were talking about Simple Plan the whole time, and you were not into that idea at all. But the basic premise was These two bands are entirely similar to me, top to bottom, other than the violin. And I was just going to review the album, but replace every time I should have said Yellowcard, just say Simple Plan instead. Like, Simple Plan really broke, I think, a lot of boundaries when they included a classical instrument such as the violin. And we were going to do that for a full hour. And I'm surprised you let me do the O Canada draft for the 10 minutes we tried to do the accents for, and not this one, because I thought this one was going to be actually very funny. Tom, basically, every week, I have an idea that would be a bad idea for the show. And this is one that I think would have been very funny. It would have been a slow burn, and it would not have been funny, I think, until you were questioning it. Like, you would be questioning it, you'd get it. You'd question it again, and be like, okay, where's this going? And then after that thought, in minute 45 or so, you'd start to laugh, I think. I think we'd do the full hour. And, I'd be like, yeah, Simple Plan, it's tough because in their music video for Ocean Avenue, it's when you see the band, Simple Plan, of course, playing the instruments. Again, these are the ramblings of a madman, and you're all here by choice. So I don't know what to say about all that.
This would be a completely different show if I never spoke my mind.
Right, exactly. I will say this before we get super into it. The episode about the self-generating crawfish is like one of our most downloaded shows this month. So whoever several dozen of you that are making their way through the entire series, bless you. But that's very impressive to me. We did early on, way early when we were still doing the diary stuff, talked about, it was just a headline. Sometimes I would railroad the entire show with something that was on my mind that day. That's how Ron Carnage was born.
This is what's happening right now.
It's what's happening right now. It's how the Casey Musgraves Taylor Swift thing got going. But this day was not quite as catchy or referenced again. It was, just an article about this strain of crayfish, that virgin-born crayfish taking over like several European lakes in one region, and it was scaring the shit out of some scientists. Anyway, if you're one of the people that are listening to it, props to you. You're a true fan. So the real ones do real things, as Shea Serrano might say. Anyway, I'll pass the ball back to you. But those were a couple thoughts that were in my head heading into this week's episode.
All right. Glad we got them all out of the way, right? We can dive right into this. So yeah, Ocean Avenue, Yellowcard. This was my introduction to the band, as I think a lot of others. It was also, like you said, the introduction to a lot of violins into pop punk in the mid 2000s. I remember kind of trying out for a band that was like, dude, we need a violin. Like, where are we going to find a violin player?
So many people had bands, and everybody, it's weird. The violin didn't catch on, as probably everybody knows.
Right.
What did catch on is, everybody does breakdowns now. So who knows if history would have gone the other way, it might have been more fun. If everyone had a violin and only like one famous band had like a very obvious breakdown in every song. That's the world. That's the multiverse I want to live in.
Let's give some quick facts about the song, because we like doing that. We've mentioned the name in passing, Neil Avron. He was a very famous producer from the era. He recorded like every band you could think of from that decade and beyond. He produced this album as well. And so if you had to guess which album Ocean Avenue was in their discography lineup, what would you think?
First, for like easy.
So I thought maybe second, and I knew that they had an EP called Midget Tossing, which did not age well.
Rough. Yeah, or seem good at the time either.
Right, sure.
There's a difference between aging well and no, I don't think not too many people were pro midget tossing at the time either. So
sure,
pretty rough stuff. I know, as we'll learn about the lead singer and his ways, and we'll talk about that later in the show.
Sure,
not the best guy. So.
So I would have assumed there was maybe one album before this that caught the attention of the labels that got them hooked up with Neil Avron, who wrote like a killer sophomore record that then they would later claim to be their debut, right? That's kind of how some of these bands that blow up quickly do it. This was their fourth fucking studio album.
That is utterly surprising. I wish I could react more surprised, but we checked the notes before the show, so my like initial like there's no gasp, but there was a gasp-worthy moment at the time, no doubt.
Part of that is almost inspiring, right? We put out our first novel. Sales are about what we expected, but it's like, okay, so we can write 3 or 4 more and still hit that fucking platinum album.
People are listening to the Virgin Born Crayfish episode in June 2019, so I have no read on how the world works, and I'm sure they didn't either. But it led to Ocean Avenue, which is really nice.
Right. So it sold 2 million singles, which is double platinum. It hit the Billboard Top 40 at number 13.
Were they selling the digital downloads with the merch?
Probably not.
This was at the Napster explosion, so everything was too confused.
Right. Sick callback, though. I appreciate the effort on that.
Yeah,
one.
the true fans will know. The real Crayfish listeners will know.
Are the listeners Crayfish?
Hey, we're all Crayfish. That's, you wanted to call them Aarons after your favorite show, Hello Internet, but maybe we should just call them the Crayfish Army or whatever. The Virgin-born Crayfish Army.
Yeah, we're missing a huge part of our potential target audience. There's a lot of crayfish out there.
You should have been calling them Virgin-born Crayfish all along, Tom. Here we are, 200 several episodes later.
So I've heard from several people that Ocean Avenue was a popular street in Ventura, California. I found out today that it's actually about a street in Jacksonville, Florida. It was near the band's high school, and there is, in fact,
they're from Jacksonville?
a Cherry Street around the corner. Yeah, they moved to California to pursue their career, but they're originally from Jacksonville, yeah.
Damn. That explains why he's such an asshole, I guess.
Right.
I have no love for Jacksonville. I think it's a pretty dismal city, but...
Ooh.
Yeah, there you go. I rarely say anything of any consequence whatsoever, but I will break my total neutral normcore fucking whatever. Jacksonville is an awful town, and nobody should live there. It even has beach. It still manages to be unpleasant, so that tells you a lot.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Anyway, yeah, moving on.
All right, so this song
But seriously, squandering beachfront property is like a mighty downturn, and people manage to enjoy Cleveland, but for Jacksonville to be unpleasant and be on beach, it's just a fucking anomaly. And it spawned Yellowcard, which is a confusing set of emotions spurning from that fact. I'm actually more blown away by that. The fourth studio album thing is like, oh, interesting. But the Jacksonville thing is really, I don't know how to feel about that. So I'm going to take a sip of water and let you keep on with the episode.
So, I mean, everyone knew the song. Everyone was singing it. It was on everyone's iPod, Mini, Nano, Shuffles, whatever. I had the blue 4 gig, of course, the coolest color. What was do you have any early memories of this song? I'm sure you do.
Yeah, I would say there was my Little League friends. I think we might have been in Pony League baseball at this point, but a little older, not quite totally youthful. And he went to a Catholic school in the city, and we're in Lawrence Park. We grew up there. And yeah, he knew some girls that went to the Villa Elementary School in Erie.
Ooh.
We went to play volleyball at the park, but everyone was passing, they burned us some CDs, and Yellowcard was one of them or something. And I didn't even like the girls that much. I was just hanging out with my friend, and it was just, hey, by the way, there's some ladies that are going to be playing volleyball today. And it was a very teen thing. We didn't really play. We just talked about nothing the whole time and basically chatted about how Yellowcard was a kind of interesting band, and this album was unique in the sense that there's a violin in it. I don't know. It's just not going anywhere. There was no game on either side. We were all just barely teen enough into our teen. You know how you go from 12 to 13 and you're technically a teen now, but you're still a child. So this was just a very awkward walk around the neighborhood is what it was. But I do remember my sister giving me shit for it. Yeah, Pat was walking around with blah, 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 Nick Worth, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you're a fucking narc and I fucking hate you. So why don't you not tell mom and dad what my business is? So I remember being very upset that day, mostly because I didn't even enjoy my time. It was an unpleasant walk. But I did get a burn CD out of it. And yeah, I remember noticing the violin and thinking, kind of questioning even then, kind of like the first time you hear Coldplay or a hit, and everyone's like, oh, this is a famous band now. You're like, is this good? Is this rocking hard? I wasn't sure, but it was very energetic. I don't know. I wanted to ask you, was it the sweet spot? Do you remember your first time hearing it? Was it the sweet spot for the moody early 2000s sad boy pop punk goofy precursor to emo shit? Was it the sweet spot between what was hard at the time and the violin made it this emotional ride as well. I mean, their song "Empty Apartment" off of that album. I mean, there's a lot of emotional draw to that band. It's not like they're known for rocking faces off or anything. I don't know what went through your head when you went through the album for the first time, because I think people could argue it might be one of the best front to back albums of the decade, or at least in any list's top 25 for that genre. I don't know. What do you think?
It is a really, really killer album, front to back. I, of course, heard the singles first. I remember being on the school bus going into school when we were in 8th grade. And it was like the whole bus went quiet when this song came on so everyone could listen. Like, it just was mesmerizing. To me, it was just like the perfect song. Like, and there's a lot of reasons why I think it's like that. I mean, a lot of pop, like pure pop music, is very repetitive. And in this song, I think the play between similarities in the first and second verse are like wonderful. How like the second half is pretty similar. Obviously the chorus is just super repetitive in the melody, but it's a killer melody packed full of emotion. It's so easy to sing. It's so easy to remember because you hear it 1,000 times in the song. I think that like this is just a fucking masterpiece of the genre and remains to this day to be just as powerful, just as effective.
We've done an episode on Best of Me by Starting Line, or at least the music video. And outside the aliens land, they're searching through all the shit. They're like, God, why did I have to? The one sad intern alien who's doing data entry temp job while he's working on his stand-up career is like going through. He's like, he got dealt early 2000s pop punk CDs and he's pissed off, as he should be. And he's looking and he's obviously going to classify Best of Me and Ocean Avenue as essentially the same message. In your eyes, which is the better on the list you just made up in your own head and said out loud?
Oh, dude, that is not fair.
It is fair because they're super, super similar.
I think this might actually be like one of the most evenly matched like head-to-head songs ever. That's hard, man. I don't know. I'd have to like, I'll honestly come back to you next week with an answer.
It is kind of interesting because they're kind of the same in so many respects. And only people who listen to this podcast would appreciate the debate, I guess. But that's almost an episode in itself. Because Best of Me is a little more raw, but more powerful with that fucking "We Will Kiss Girl" line. Anyway, I was actually upset when I first heard the verse pre-chorus, the "staying up all night." I was like, who the do they think they are pausing that so long like that? I don't know. I was just like, this doesn't feel good or right. I mean, obviously it's a classic, but or at least a classic for the decade in the genre. It was similar, and we were texting a little before the show. The Blink-182 song off of California, their most recent album, when he's like, what's the line in the
life is too short to last long. Yeah,
he sets the rhyme up. He's like, life is too short to last. That's the rhyme.
And then he fucking whiffs it on long.
And then he just says long. He doesn't even whiff it. He just does it just to with us. It's kind of like the Steve Aoki thing in a nutshell. Like, I'm just going to say a word and see if anybody gives a shit. Is anybody paying attention anymore? Or does like the fact that we ran naked in that one music video and had a couple fucking cartoon bunny t-shirts make it seem like, you know, we're untouchable or something? It's just like, get over yourselves. Anyway, Yellowcard at the time hadn't even earned that much street cred, even though they had 3 fucking whiffs of studio albums that nobody fucking heard about. And they're sitting over here pausing 30 seconds in between words before their freaking chorus. It's like, get over yourselves. Jesus. With the violin and the I don't know. It really rubbed me the wrong way for no realistic reason because it's a bop. But I just was so upset at the time. Like, maybe I was upset more about Nick W dragging me out for this walk I didn't want to go on and then getting shit from my sister later after hearing the city for the first time. It's just a very unpleasant summer day for me at the age of, I don't know, what, 11, 13, I guess it would have been 2003. But
my God.
Obviously, of course, it ends up growing on you. Because the album rocks oddly hard.
I don't think I've ever like really noticed or paid attention to that pause because it comes in with like a cool harmony. I think they make up for how they left you hanging. Plus, like the the rhythm section is like killing it with their da 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 da. Like it's so interesting that
Right.
like
I think
don't
I was
feel
just
like
mad I
missing
didn't get it
anything.
at first. I was like, this is stupid, you know, but obviously they like, it's built in. And like you said, it's part of the song. So listen to it and shut up already. But
So this song was like such a favorite of mine. I remember downloading the music video from LimeWire, and it was like, I was really intrigued by the way that drummers set up their drum sets, because it's really, I think it shows a lot about the person and like the angle of their toms and cymbals and stuff and the placement. And their drummer, Longino Parsons III, everything of his was so flat, and his cymbals were like, they were so high, they were so close together. And I remember like going up into my room to try to set my drum set up just like his, and I was too small for it, man. I could not reach anything. But like really, really thinking like, man, someday when I'm bigger and I have the right equipment, I'm gonna look just like this dude, because he fucking rips, man. Like he is absolutely killing that drum set.
did you do that with a lot of music videos and stuff? I mean, because you had a drum set from pretty early on.
Yeah, I remember doing it with Basket Case when Trey Cool had like the duct tape patterns on his toms. I thought that was really interesting. I did that. I tried,
and getting wheeled out in the wheelchair
Right.
for that music video was. We should do that music video, but maybe that made it a little before the window we're discussing.
Let's
but
do
yeah,
it.
that was. I could see why you would be attracted to that.
And Travis Barker, his was similar to damn it, I should have got the pronunciation down. Longino, God, crazy name. They were very flat, and I thought that was nice. And Travis Barker did a similar thing, and that's kind of like what I do with mine now. They're pretty flat. Everything's pretty parallel to the ground. So it's stuck with me for sure. I think this video shaped a lot of my drumming aesthetic style.
It's important. I mean, Fred Armisen even did a whole stand-up special on Netflix just for drummers. So,
Yeah.
I think drumming culture is real, and there's no, I was always impressed that you seem to take care of. You still have your original drum set with you, so there's is a culture the right word for it, right? Or at least it's an intense hobby for many, many, many people.
Yeah, I've had this drum set for 16 years, like well over half of my life. That's crazy. That's man. That's a realization.
Right. No, it's all right. It's good. I would love to hear the round table of people who, whether it Neil Peart or Meg White or Travis Barker, just like a rock journalist and a musician from every decade for the past like 5 or 6, just sitting down and really talking about Dave Grohl, even who brought what to what and really ranking a legitimate top. I don't even know where Travis Barker would land or any of those names I just mentioned. Peart, I guess, would be in the top 5 all time, I'd have to assume.
And he wouldn't deserve it at all either. Although in 8th grade, I did have a picture of him in my locker only because I liked his drum set. I didn't actually know who the
Neil
he was.
Peart? Oh.
Yeah.
I guess I'll take the very safe stance opposite of you, like always, and say that the Beatles were in fact good and Neil Peart is also good. So you make it so weirdly easy for me to have...
Overrated.
Anyway, I'd love to hear that discussion. I'd love to hear where the Motion City soundtrack drummer ranks on that, but that's a different story.
Oh, man.
But yeah, this guy does pretty well. I don't want to go this early in the episode to the legacy stuff, but I mean, did we talk about the lead singer's antics? Did we talk about where the band ranks among the decade? Was this a one-album wonder? It's their 4th studio album. Kind of their only good album, right?
No, take that back, you motherfucker.
Okay. Seconds after you argued quite boldly, I might add, that Neil Peart is not a talented drummer. You're like, hey, take it back. Lights and Sounds was at least decent.
No, dude, Lights and Sounds and Paper Walls is still like among one of the best pop punk records of the decade. Like they fucking slayed those first 3 albums. And speaking of things in threes, the first 3 songs from Ocean Avenue are probably the first 3 album openers like in the history of music.
List them off.
All right, so we start off on Way Away, and then that slams right into Breathing, and then a little bit of silence, Ocean Avenue. That's strong, dude. That is.
You lose me with breathing a little bit.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, but I mean,
I don't know if Ocean Avenue's your heavy hitter. I just don't know.
I think Way Away hits. It's not as catchy, but it hits equally as hard as Ocean Avenue.
Oh, the opening track is power. I mean, like it is. And again, we're speaking within the realm of this decade and this genre, but I don't even know. Some of the ones we often talk about: My Chemical Romance, 3 Cheers to Sweet Revenge. The first 4 to 5 on that, very crazy strong album start. Yeah, I guess you're not wrong, because this would have to be one of the top 50, if not top 25, for this decade and genre albums out there. So you're not wrong. I want to somehow use the Neil Peart energy against you, but this particular argument is not too far off. So I guess we'll just have to agree on something.
Well, do you want to, before we get into the controversy, do you want to talk a bit about the music video? We don't need to spend too much time, but I do think it's interesting.
It's kind of interesting because, last week, or lately, we've been kind of tweet at us at _FM if you like certain formats. But I think this week we're going to skip going frame by frame, lyric by lyric, because it often kind of drags things in. It interrupts tangents we are on and interrupts the flow of the conversation just to go over lyrics that are kind of repetitive often anyway. Right. But I was trying to think of what movies it might have been based off of. Like, did Fight Club come out this year? Is that what this is trying to be? And I was looking up the best movies that came out in 2003, and it was like Holes and I don't know, which is a very great film. But I couldn't quite find the Kill Bill. I think one of the Kill Bills came out that year. I couldn't quite find what they were trying to mimic, but they're in a warehouse. It's kind of like a Inception meets Fight Club meets, he wakes up with broken glass. He runs through the town. He is disrupted by a crowd of nuns, of course. He's distraught. He's not having a great morning, as you can probably imagine if you woke up. If you're led to believe he woke up in this broken glass. Then he runs into a bum in an alley. He's running. And then he just misses catching up with the car he was trying to catch up with. And then he gets another shot at it after the first chorus or so. It cuts to the band. They're playing in a warehouse, whatever, typical band shot. But then he dodges the nuns, dodges the homeless guy. He gets there too early and he gets hit by the car. Or it suggests that. And then he wakes up again and he's in the apartment, and the girl he had been staying the night with has taken their briefcase full of, we assume, cash. And he's trying to run, and these 2 guys in sunglasses and suits, I guess like Secret Service or something, or some mobster goons, are trying to get him. He jumps out a window, and that leads to where you were first seeing him with the broken glass. And then he does the whole dodge the nuns thing again, and at the end of the episode, he stops the car, or the car stops instead of hitting him this time because he's staring at the driver as she pulls up. And she waits for a second, the goons are charging. The briefcase can be seen in the car, and she's, kind of nods over to the passenger seat, and he's able to drive off with her into the world of crime, being on the run, whatever. Anyway, so it's kind of a thriller crime drama thing with kind of a thinker, because you're like, is he time traveling or what's going on for the first few frames? But it's pretty cool, pretty high concept for a pop punk early 2000s music video, I would say. Better than Click 5, that's for damn sure.
Yeah, I think it was like a really good example of just like a good, pretty simple story that's done interestingly. I love how it kind of starts in the middle for the first 2 times, and then on that last time you get the whole story of how he got there. And if you notice, when he's on the ground, it replays 3 times, there's a number on his jacket. The first time you see it, it's a 1, then a 2, then a 3. I didn't notice that until today, just a little detail. And according to several articles, the video was based on the film Run, Lola, Run. I haven't seen it, but I Googled it, and it's actually playing at a cinema draft house down the road from me tomorrow. So I might go check it out.
I would please do that.
So the director, he's done a ton of music videos. He did some for Weezer, Evanescence, Green Day, and he directed 500 Days of Summer, which I thought was really interesting. But he clearly knows what he's doing. Like I said, it was just a good example of like a very good, interesting video that doesn't. The thing that I liked is that it didn't literally play out what the lyrics were. It wasn't totally disconnected, but it kind of ran nicely parallel with it. Like the whole premise of the lyrics are, if I could find you now, things would get better, right? That's the main takeaway.
Do you have any main lyrical qualms before I give mine that I texted you before the show?
Well, I don't think any lyrical qualms, but I just think that it was a nice way to tie in a somewhat unrelated video into the lyrics while they didn't seem too separate.
I think the video's high concept and great. I think the lyrics themselves, it was a little Sugar Ray-ish to go into the bridge and say that, oh, by the way, it was me that broke up with you, even though I'm talking about wishing you were here and wanting to flee town with you. It's just like, what the f***? Who are we supposed to be rooting for here, you jackasses? Also, nice pre-chorus pause, you d***s.
So I think if the aliens came down and they asked Jeeves, what is pop punk? I think you could show them this song and it would tell them everything they need to know. We would leave this town and run forever.
I love that the aliens are using Ask Jeeves in this scenario because that is exactly how I would want it to go down.
They're Alta Vista, whatever you want. Like
some like Rogue in like the future when shit's really going down and we're all locked in our Amazon boxes and the Google police are around and our only hope are the virgin-born crayfish fighting the robots. That's a deep callback to whoever's listening to those episodes. I think that there's going to be a rogue Google employee from the inside that breaks the police state wide open by crashing the company from within and making sure that it seems like we've been using Ask Jeeves this whole time as our main search engine. So I hope that's what the aliens actually find and have to use. But of course, their technology would have to be compatible with iPads and shit. So who's to say?
Well, so this song just is pop punk. And when you think of pop punk, it's like, leave this town, whiny guy. I'm crying that I want the girl back, even though I'm the one that f***ed up because I'm a dickhead. Like, that is pop punk in its purest form. So I have no qualms because it's so what it is that to me it's like fun.
I agree. It is pop punk, right? I mean, we talk about on the show a lot, like we cover a pretty specific niche. And it's shocking that so many of you listen because the numbers have been honestly kind of bonkers lately. And thank you very much to all of you. But do they rock hard? Does Yellowcard rock hard? With his voice being so Simple Plan-ish and the fact that there's an orchestral instrument involved. Like, I think at the time while listening, you're like, man, these guys kind of get after it. But if we're like given the courtesy of time to look back to see if we were correct, do they? Can speed overcome certain setbacks against, like, obviously Metallica would be like of course Metallica rocks, right? AC/DC
rocks. Do they though?
Jesus Christ, Tom. Can we just have a conversation about anything without you just saying the opposite of what is generally held to be true about everything?
I'm so serious. I think Metallica is so corny, dude.
Okay. How are we supposed to do a show about music when every general commonality, just for the purpose of discussing it, is contradicted? Even down to the fucking Beatles being good. Anyway, I guess that's part of the show.
I
don't even want you to answer the question anymore because it's all a sham.
I'm being so authentic, though. I cannot be any more genuine. But I'm going to have you listen to the songs Afraid.
But if you're a numbers guy, they would have to be one of the most highly successful. Like if you listed Taylor Swift numbers to me when we talk about pop, and I mention Metallica when I talk about fucking bands that rock, you can't just go on numbers and be like, nah, not Metallica though. Like you got to do anything that resembles I don't know. I don't even know what to say. I am at a loss, and I don't even want you to answer the question. Can we talk about how the lead singers?
Well, I do want to say, the song Afraid and Cut Me Mick off of Paper Walls is probably some of the best examples of rocking hard from Yellowcard. I will assign that as homework. Especially Cut Me Mick is just so killer. Paper Walls is a great album.
Excellent.
And Metallica they're fine. I just don't understand it, but that's fine.
But the question was, like, you're saying like, I was trying to talk about bands that are the definition of rocking, and you were like, Metallica. Like, what? How is that helpful?
It's the most elementary drumming I've ever heard in my life, dude.
The lead singer is an unpleasant person, I think, and then there's a discussion we wanted to have about, should we even talk about them anymore? Did we want to do the episode? Because we've been not doing brand new episodes because of what's going on with them, their lead singer. But is this guy just a dick, or did he do bad stuff? I honestly don't know the answer to that question, so I'm honestly curious because you had mentioned earlier about whether or not we should even do the show.
Right. Okay. So it started off, I was just thinking of, we wanted to do these like bonus episodes every month, which have been falling through because I'm fucking busy. But I know a few people who are connected to the drummer of Yellowcard. And I reached out to them like, hey, if you know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy, do you think we can get Ryan Key to talk on our podcast with us? And one dude that I got in touch with was like, yeah, I wouldn't bother. He's a fucking asshole. And I was like, oh, like, dish, you know? And he's in a very successful Blink-182 cover band called Dude Ranch. I'll put a link in the show notes. And he played a show with Longino Parsons III. He played drums for their band for a couple songs. And he booked Yellowcard a few times and said like he was just like the worst example of a human being he's ever met. And I just thought like, okay, so the dude had like a bad interaction. Maybe it's a little over dramatic. Wasn't too sure. And then like a month later, I see this Reddit post and I interpreted it that Ryan Key got frustrated and yelled at a band on stage at a show. But what he did was he kicked his own band off the stage when he threw a fucking hissy fit, like a full-blown temper tantrum on stage. And like all these people left the show because it was so fucking awkward and embarrassing. And I started digging into it, and there's like a long history of him just being I mean, again, I think they're a great band, but I don't think they have the commercial success on any scale to like think you're that important. I mean, no one should be an asshole, but like, you know, he thinks that the world owes him something or something like that. And it got me wondering, like, how easy is it for you personally to continue to listen to a band that you love, knowing that the members are either assholes or do bad things? Like, can you separate those two? Should you? This is a longer discussion than we have in like the 3 minutes left in the show, but I think it totally tainted my view of the band. It kind of paints it in a different light. It's kind of hard for me to enjoy it the way I used to, knowing he's such an asshole.
Well, I think there's a deeper discussion about, you know, you take it back to Michael Jackson or something even, right? And I think if he's just a and that's the main transgression, I think you're allowed to have Ocean Avenue on your Spotify curated early 2000s playlist and not feel that bad about it. You know what I mean? This is a particular era in culture where those, you know, I have definitely listened to less brand new for sure.
Yeah.
I think if you look at the band Pine Grove and the essays that lead singer has written and the hiatuses they took and what kind of got publicized about something that I don't know if about it to say, but if you go Google it, you'll probably see AV Club wrote about it and stuff. But he had talked about the relationship between fans and lead singers and things. And people were like, wait a minute, what? And he said, all right, we'll shut it down. We won't do this tour or whatever. Or, again, it might not have been a tour, but he wrote a long essay to re-explain his thoughts. And then they ended up recording a different album and eventually continuing. But yeah, I don't know. The Michael Jackson case would be kind of the most famous, right? Like,
sure.
Of what are we, where do you, I don't know. But this one, yeah, Ocean, yeah, put it on your playlist. I don't think anybody really cares. He's just an asshole. As far as we know, right? I don't know. I haven't checked his criminal records or anything.
Yeah, it's a bummer because like I relate these songs to such like youthful innocence, right? Pining over that girl in 8th grade. You think you don't know how you're gonna get through life because she didn't, you know, circle yes on the note that you passed her. And like, that's just like what I think about. And then when you then associate it with like, oh, these are like real people with real lives singing these songs and the one's a piece of shit, it's like, it kind of takes you out of that nostalgic way of thinking, I guess, which is, you know, fine. But
a couple notes about that. You would have folded that piece of paper in a very specific way, which I always thought was cool. And you would have listened to that song after trying to call their house phone, hearing that the dad picked up and then hanging up right away, hoping you would have gotten the mom or the other sibling or whatever. So there was a lot of manpower, a lot of man hours that went into even communicating in the first place. So I'm going to get off my grandpa high horse there for a second. But you had to earn the violin. You had to earn the emotion of the song Empty Apartment, even though you would be a full decade away from owning an apartment to begin with. But
Also, the song Empty Apartment is about having a falling out with one of their former band members. And I'm wondering if it's because he was such a dick that the dude left.
Oh, that's about another, like a friend. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and re-listen.
Yeah. Well, that sums up most of my thoughts about this song. I love it. I think it's one of my favorite mixes in the genre. Neil Avron is a fucking killer. Everything about it is great. I think just absolutely everything. Really good.
Yeah. Do you want to take a couple minutes and talk about the reunion, or are you good?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, we have one coming up in about a month. And you're going to be visiting. There's an aspect of this that we could talk about you visiting, or the fact that we actually have to enter a room with former classmates.
So yeah, in a month we have our 10-year high school reunion. I'm looking forward to it just to see my best friend, obviously. And it just hit me today that yes, I have to be in a room with all these people I kind of suffered through 4 years of high school with.
I didn't know you suffered so bad. I figured we all had fun when we hung out and stuff. I could think of like 10 people I would just assume that you'd be totally comfortable being in a room with, I guess.
I'm not comfortable being in a room with anyone, really. Like, my social anxiety is so bad, typically. I keep it pretty well hidden. But yeah, man, high school was not like good for me. So a part of me was like, do I just skip the reunion? It's not like I hate these people. It's just like not something I'm like longing to revisit.
So for me, because I texted you because I like am, for better or worse, part of the crew that is putting it on, right? Or organizing. So I'm going to have to be at some of the events Friday and Saturday to just be around and say hello, right? Be there. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I remember you laughing, doing band stuff with the people that played music in our grade, and then dating Hannah. It was like, that seems like a pretty good set of time. But who knows? They always say there's all those memes about Mac Miller smiling. It's like, you got to check on your happy friends.
Right.
But anyway, I did not know what was boiling underneath, and I apologize. Means I'm a bad friend, I suppose.
No, man, not at all. It was just, I have a hard time relating to people, I think you and Zach are really like my only true friends. I was just looking forward to flying into Cincy, doing a road trip with you, seeing my dad. The thing I'm looking forward to the least is actually like Saturday night, the reunion. I did buy my tickets today. I spent the $16 or whatever, but
yeah, you get a couple colas and some finger foods.
Right. And, I'm going to go, but I'm just dreading like the small talk. And it's not even like, I feel when I did go self-employed, one of my first thoughts was like, oh, that's going to be like fun to tell people at the reunion. Like, no, I'm self-employed, dude. I'm doing what I love. I have thought of things in relation to like telling people at the reunion. Like, so I've thought about it. It's not like I'm in a bad place. I'm not embarrassed of anything. I have nothing to want to hide from anyone, but I just like don't want to fucking do it, kind of.
But I guess my counterpoint would be like, these are not strangers. These are people you have, like, in the log of your memory, been people you've had pleasant times with.
But they are strangers because I haven't seen them in 10 years. I have no idea what the they're doing. Like, we're all totally different people.
I guess I'm mostly curious just from an attendance standpoint because we rented the hall and I want enough people to go to, so we don't, Aaron doesn't lose money and then he has to take out another student loan or something. But... I'm like curious. I wanted to put a post in a little group we made, like, don't come if you don't want to. This isn't aimed at you at all. I just had this thought, like, if you want to come, the goal would be pretty much only to have pleasant interactions and enjoy the fact that we all shared a pretty special thing. Everybody has to do high school, and we did it together. And, this is not going to be the last time we do this, so there's pretty much no pressure at all. We just had to get one out of the way, technically, right, in 10 years, so... I didn't know really how to phrase that at all, but hopefully my thought going in was like, safe space is a weird word, but I guess my hope would that people would feel, not that it's like, I guess a measuring contest or anything like that, just like, hey, I recognize all of you. Wow, what a thing, and, the hope would be that people are able to enjoy it. But now I fear that there's kind of, I don't know. I guess not to bring up, oh, hey, social media has really changed things, huh? But like, oh, hot take for sure. No. But, I don't know if it's those tools make it seem like people are constantly measuring things against other people and things like that. So maybe that is the new mindset, or maybe I'm way off on all that, but
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not like I'm going there looking to fucking stir up. Like I was never like that in high school either, you know?
right.
It's just like,
we've been texting with one friend who was like, oh, I want to talk to Tom about Denver and living in Colorado, because I might do that. And that's what kind of started this whole, like, you saying I don't want that, but it's like, that's what kind of caught me off guard. I was like, an acquaintance wants to see how you are doing. And to me, I was just like, that's what does it. And it's fine if it does. It was hard for me to wrap my head around, which is, you know, obviously I was joking via text with you earlier that like, hey man, don't worry about it is obviously the perfect response to talk to an anxious person. Like, no, yeah, but you're wrong though. It'll work out. You know, like that's, oh, really cool. Glad I didn't think about it that way. Appreciate that.
Here's kind of the whole thing summed up. I have pretty bad social anxiety, even around like, I mean, seeing my sister, I'll get nervous. Like, well, what if I don't know what to talk about? Like, I just get so in my head with someone that like I love with all my heart and I've known my entire fucking life, and that like I've never had weird interactions with. Like I have absolutely no problems, but I'll still get anxious. So that paired with like I don't feel strong personal connections with anyone, with the exception of like you and Zach and like my family. Like most people can come in and out of my life and I just don't really fucking care, which makes me sound like a monster, but I had a lot of, you know, friends in high school, and that's like super cool. And I'm glad that I did. And I, you know, still love them and hope they're all killing it. And, you know, I am excited to see people, but like, to me, the social anxiety outweighs everything. So yeah, there's people that were very important in my life that I still wish well, but it doesn't outweigh like my social anxiety. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. But either way, I mean,
we talked about this earlier too. What do you feel about like, I guess my argument would be on varying degrees. Some people or many people would say they like generally, I mean, because there are comedians that live off this. They feast on this on Twitter. Like, oh, party, cool. I'll be here, not inside my fucking house or whatever. You know, like it's almost like anxiety humor is hot on Twitter right now in a weird way.
Sure.
Like, so I'm like, if that's such a commonly held opinion, you know, how can we rephrase this whole thing? You know, because it's always like, oh my God, if you guys are at the bar, I'm at home fucking trying to choke on pizza rolls. Like, and then it's like this like trendy, cool internet thing.
Right.
And I think everybody feels a certain amount of anxiety going into a public space. I'm not saying everyone feels the same amount of anxiety, but I feel like it exists kind of that whole like, I've been at family functions where I don't have anybody to talk to because I'm at a weird age between people's kids and my cousins who are crazy old because I have a weird Irish family that is like, just the most wide age range ever.
I have the same one, yeah.
And you just like walk away and go to the bathroom when you don't have somebody to talk to. That's like a weird trick I picked up being with my own family. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm going to go to the bathroom again just so I look like I'm doing something, I guess. But that's never pleasant to do. But there's something to be said for doing it because I think human interaction is so important for like the human experience, right? So my question, and we're not going to solve this on this pod. We're already almost reaching the hour mark, which is longer than we usually go. But is there a way to just let everyone know that the swords are down, right? Like, hey man, it's cool. We're just, hey, oh, here's a soda or a beer. You know, like are you okay? I'm okay. Let's, you know, can we get past the point of like, hey, where are you at? What are you up to? Cool. And like kind of the natural inflections that come with even saying those sentences out loud, whether they're intentional or not, right? So I don't know. The small talk does suck, but these are people that are like, I feel play huge roles in a lot of the memories you and I share just as friends in general. So
for sure.
That's why it hit me so surprisingly today to hear that most of the experiences, or some of them, were unpleasant enough to leave an overall bad taste in your mouth.
Yeah, and it wasn't really, I don't think anyone like wronged me. You know, there were a couple people that like tried to bully me because I wore tight pants, but like, yo, my look good, so I ain't stressing him out.
Also, we should ditch our current intro to the show and just be like, but hey, my look good. And then you're like, hey, welcome to Reminiscent, everybody.
No, so like, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to be stressed about it. and then I'm going to feel awkward for 5 minutes, and then I'm going to have a really good time. That's what always happens. So,
I don't know if you said you wanted to stay with your dad. I don't know if you want to just skip Friday and do that and then just be rested and ready for Saturday. I was hoping Friday would serve as kind of a buffer. If we were planning on going to the frickin' Seawolves game on Friday, right? But I imagine people will go out after that as well. I was hoping that would be service. So you know how during the wedding when you go to the rehearsal dinner and then by the time the wedding comes, everyone's kind of seen each other and met each other. They could just kind of have fun that day. Hopefully it plays out like that. But in terms of Zach not having attended our high school and you having to go back to Western New York from Erie, I was logistically, I guess we have to get together and talk about how that's going to play out. Because as the host of this stuff, I feel like I do have to be around a little bit more than maybe you guys are. I don't know. We haven't really covered that ground yet. But that what I had texted earlier was, I'm glad we at least have Thursday together to just chill, totally just us.
Right. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to Friday. I think the game's going to be fun. I'd rather just skip Saturday and like go to my dad's then and like chill.
Oh.
But I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. I might not stay at my dad's. I mean, I'd like to spend as much time with him as possible. But I mainly just want to hang out with you two. That's all I really give a shit about. So that's what I'm there for.
Well, it was funny. One of our friends was saying like, oh, is Zach coming to our reunion? Because he so obviously didn't attend the school. I was like, oh, I don't know. It's crazy to even think about, right? And they're like, oh, no, our other friend from Villa or whatever is totally coming. I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, Zach's definitely coming. So.
Well, because there was like some serious shade thrown in the group like day one when someone's like...
You know, the friend that I'm referencing brought up the point that our prom queen decision was so heavily contested. Like our class set the school record for most people kicked out. It was like the year a charter was different, and there was, It doesn't matter. But the most amount of kickouts and failouts, and like our class shrunk dramatically.
Like
we had
50%?
Just like the worst, our school was like a city charter project to like give, people in Erie County a chance to have access to more AP classes basically. But our class was historically, was putting up the worst numbers top to bottom of everybody. And that culminated probably senior year in the woman who ended up winning prom, who was kind of more of a, I guess like a not, she kind of was in the nerdy group, but like it's the nicest girl.
I didn't go to prom. I don't remember who won.
I'll say edit it out. Won it, and then like and them just basically ripped it out of her hands.
Oh my god, dude! I didn't know any of that,
dude. Anyway, so basically, it was was messaging me and she was just like, so I am not surprised by any of this. Let's just whoever wants to go can go, and whoever wants to comment, like it doesn't. We're all just trying to enjoy each other's company and have a beer or some soda and talk about the old times.
Right.
And I want to set this up to do it again, because like if you didn't make the one, hopefully you can make another, and because you want to be able to have this be a thing that you enjoy and you grow together as this small community. And I think we have a core group that could keep that going. You wouldn't want it to be a labor every 10 years, because why do that? You'd want it to be this thing where it's like, hey guys, how lucky are we, right? There was this large number of really like-minded, nice people that are able to come together and enjoy it. But
yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll see.
But if you skip Saturday, I don't think anybody would like, it is what it is. As long as you're back at my house in time to drive back to Cincy, because you got to make that flight. Right. I mean, no one's going to like, they'd be like, oh, really, Tom? That's all right. I mean, oh, he wanted to see his dad. That's cool. But, I mean, you can do whatever you want.
We'll see. I bought the ticket either way, so.
Oh, nice. I bought 2 so far.
Hey-oh. Is Jessie coming?
Worried. No, she's going to watch the pup, and with our job search and stuff, she's got limited vacation days, so she will have been coming off a fresh trip down to, she had just taken a week off before that to go visit her family and stuff, so.
Gotcha.
She's going to watch the pups.
Nice. Yeah, my wife will be in Sweden, so I don't know who's going to be watching our dog, but we'll figure it out.
Bring Levi over to on the plane, buy a coach seat for him.
That'd be sick. Well, do you want to give our songs of the week and get out of here? We did a long one.
Yeah. John. I haven't been able to keep up, man. There's so much music. Did you know that there's a lot of music in this world?
Yeah, it all sucks,
Breaking
too.
news. It's so bad. I don't care.
Well,
I don't know. Mac DeMarco. I don't know. There's that Eminem and Logic came out with a song with Chris D'Elia sampled at the end. I don't know. I don't have enough energy. I guess I'm going to try to listen to Mac DeMarco. I always do that thing where I give you an album and then 2 weeks later when I actually listen to it, I'm like, oh, this is either good or bad. But Vampire Weekend stuff obviously came out. It's a big week for music. There's new Springsteen. I mean, there's left and right. But, there's new Mountain Goats, which I actually am pretty excited about. But I haven't got to any of that yet. So in the coming weeks, I'll let you know how that all sorted out in my brain.
All right. There is a artist, I don't know how to pronounce it. He's from Sweden, Joakim Karud. He does electronic music. He has a song called Waves that is a really good vibe. I used it in a quote-unquote video project recently, and I just bought his whole discography for $30. So that was like 450 krones. I'm really looking forward to digging through it. There's some really good... It's like, it's like chill hop, lo-fi hip-hop type stuff, which I've really been into lately. So it's a good one. Is that what
you work to, kind of?
I just kind of put it on as I'm like reading, or if I'm cooking or in the shower, just kind of do this little knee dance thing that I do too.
Nice. Vibing.
Just fucking vibing. It's good. It puts me in a really good place. And as I've mentioned in the past, I use music as like mood alteration tools.
Nothing wrong with that.
It's good stuff.
I think nobody would put bad road trip songs in a road trip playlist, you know what I mean? So I think if anybody doesn't understand where you're coming from on that one, then they can go themselves. And they're probably the lead singer of Yellowcard, who's a noted.
This dude does have a good song called Road Trip, and I'm hoping to make a little video of our road trip and use the song Road Trip in it.
Ooh,
be fun.
I'm excited. We could take major detours or just chill in Cincy. We got options. I'm very excited to see you. It's coming up, and we'll hopefully be able to mine enough content for a few shows out of that particular trip to give ourselves not a break for you because you have to edit it, but either way, you know what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Visit and chat and have a good time.
Cool beans, man.
Well, thanks everybody who's listening to the freaking Crawfish episode. I don't know who you are or why you're doing what you're doing, but thank you. It's weirdly cool. Very cool. The numbers have been bonkers lately. I don't get it, and I'm not going to say what they are, but wow, thank you. Awesome.
But it's north of 100 million. We'll say that, right?
Yeah, for sure. At _reminiscent FM on Twitter. Reach out. What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? And thank you. Yeah, genuinely, thank you. And Tom, I love you, man.
Love you too, man. Talk to you later. Thank you all for sticking around to the end. Please hit us up on Twitter at _reminiscentfm and let us know which song would win in a shootout. Best of Me by The Starting Line or Ocean Avenue by Yellowcard. Probably the most evenly matched songs of all time. And if you've survived an awkward 10-year high school reunion, let me know because I'm stressing hardcore. All right, we'll see you next week. Love you guys. Bye.